Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back to the OSU TAIKO World Cup 2025. We have the beginning of the round of 16, so we're going to be kicking it off with the match between Singapore, Seed 4, and Indonesia, Seed 13. I am Teasel, joined by DryodX. Hello.
Hello. Been a while since I've been here for some TWC action.
Yeah, this is both of our first matches this year. So we were both off last week.
Yeah, but we're here now, and we're here to watch this very, very exciting match. Got the battle of the red flags, the red and white flags, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely.
One
only,
is a little,
only
one is a moon,
differentiated
and I
with
think some stars.
The moon. Yeah, the moon and stars is the only difference.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go any further than that. I'm not up to date on my flag lore.
But yeah, this one is looking pretty exciting because I think Singapore came out and surprised everyone with getting Seed 4. Like, everyone kind of knows that, you know, with these kind of players, they have a lot of good potential, but I think everyone was just kind of a bit too focused on everyone else and then Singapore just crept in there and one of the highest seeded teams here. So, and yeah, Indonesia is a team that has gotten top 3 before. So there's a lot of different dynamics going on. Indonesia has kind of brought back a couple of their really strong players for this year as well. So while it does look like Singapore may have kind of a very strong advantage here, especially if you take a look at the Twitch pick'ems, which is like 300 something thousand in favor of Singapore and then 13k for Indonesia. There's, you know, I definitely think Indonesia still has a shot at least getting a couple of points, and maybe if Singapore aren't playing quite on their game today, I think Indonesia could possibly take it.
Hidden one being the ban from Indonesia.
Makes sense. I took a look at the scores from each team last week, and Singapore had a very, very good showing on Hidden One, so no point chancing that against them.
I think it's interesting the thing you brought up about people not seeing Singapore. At least in my mind, in previous years, Singapore has always been a very, very solid team. But like you said, for them to crack top 4 in seeding this time is crazy. Like, I feel like they've normally been like 6 to 8.
Yeah, they've
just leveled up, I guess.
Down. And I don't even know if they had a team last year. So it's kind of like another reason why. Let's see. Yeah, they didn't have a team last year, so that's kind of another reason why they were kind of off people's radars a bit, I think.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
And then, yeah, 23 they had a much weaker team, so it's been a couple of years since they've had their strongest, best players. Yeah, Nomad 3 getting rid of the tech seems reasonable. Indonesia does have some very strong players, especially within those more kind of complicated skill sets, so let's see where they start off with. I feel like I'm not fully well versed in these teams enough to guide towards what kind of picks I'll be making. Also, I've just made a mistake. Nomad 3 is speed, not tech. So yeah, it still seems decent.
For the record, I saw the artist name and believed you because 96 Glass, at least in my experience, is a very, very technical artist. But I guess also at the same time, it tends to be very, very fast tech. So it makes sense.
So it's whatever. But one thing I do like to see is that Nomad 4, our gimmick map, is open.
It's just a matter of will it be picked.
Yeah, this year it is, instead of kind of going all out with editing and notepads and everything, it's just much more focused on kind of SV and reading. So it's like kind of going back a couple of years in terms of how we approach and treat it.
The gimmick maps of old. Yeah. Before we started to do crazy things, because we didn't think that Score V2 would allow us to do crazy things.
But I think one of the interesting things about that is it means that because people have been practicing that kind of proper skill set in like crazy SV reading for so many years, it's almost more difficult again.
I was never very good at the highest level gimmick charts in tournaments, so a return to farm would have been great for me.
Yeah. But But we're going to be starting this one off with the free mod 1 pick from Singapore.
Long chart, huh? Maybe I'm just too used to other games. Been very long since I've been too far into Taiko, so
to be fair,
I'm used to the other games where the longest chart you see is like 230, and you're like, man, that's long.
Yeah. Yeah, I think generally the pools have gotten a bit shorter over time. Like, you know, we used to see no mod ones that were like 4 or 5 minutes long, but you don't really see that too often these days. Like,
yeah,
you rarely see something that's going over 3.5 minutes, I would say.
Yeah, I feel like, at least in my experience, 3.5 is the general limit. The only things that would really break past it would be, like you said, a no mod 1, or occasionally a no mod 6, I believe, with a lot of streams.
Ah, yes, yeah. It kind of turns into your TB Lite almost.
Mm-hmm. Just stamina chart.
Alright, so with this one being free mod 1? No. Oh, no, I'm looking at the grand finals of 2023. That's why I was confused. What year is this? 25. Okay, yeah, like, with this one, it's kind of interesting with the free mod since we have shrunk it down to only having 2. So, I think it's generally kind of the more consistency-esque one, and it's kind of accessible to both mods, really, from what I remember about this map. As it's kind of a couple of things here and there to trip people up, but I feel like with all the players, with the players that I'm seeing up here, like, they shouldn't be like having issues with this.
Always nice to have free mods that aren't like terrible to play with mods, where you just kind of like focus a bit more on accuracy rather than having to like study the chart so you can not get destroyed by the fast part with HR or the really slow part with hidden.
Yeah, we'll introduce those later on in the tournament.
Yeah. And generally free mod 2 tends to have that stuff as well, but
yeah. Here we go.
And that's a lot of mods on the side of Singapore.
It sure is.
We have 3 on the side of Indonesia right now. We'll see. We have 5 in total. So only 1 mod difference between the 2 teams.
Yeah, Sarah choosing to play it safe with just hard rock, but sometimes that's genuinely the best thing to do. You know, you want to maximize the score that you're getting, and if adding on the extra mod is going to give you worse score, don't use it. So it does give Singapore an advantage of an extra 60,000 score or so to work with.
Yeah, which, from my understanding, is about 2% in accuracy, assuming FC.
Roughly, yeah. But, of course, Singapore have a harder time here. They need to be more consistent, keep that accuracy high, and not find too many misses.
But one way is actually having the first misses from these fairly awkward timings. Very hard to read with HDHR.
Yeah, the accuracy falling down a bit into the kind of mid-97s, but still pretty good.
Yeah, already seeing a 40,000 point lead for Singapore is not what you want if you're an Indonesian fan.
Yeah, interestingly, when Singapore played a free mod last week, Larard didn't play with any mods. He just played a no mod. So I think perhaps they were maybe hiding their skill sets a bit, but I mean, everyone knows Blarg well enough to know that would be easy.
I was gonna say, and I feel like especially with these higher seeded teams in these earlier pools, you kind of just expect them to all go HDHR anyway.
Yeah, still 5 full combos on the board. Walper still just, you know, like building up that combo, reaching 400 now. Accuracy is a wee bit low, but
back into the section that made them miss, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they miss at the very end of it.
But I think having that one less mod as well is hurting Indonesia quite a lot. You know, with a score difference of 120,000. All of our full combo 2 mod players are We're approaching 750. Sarah on the one mod, still only about 720.
About a quarter of the song left. So, barring absolute catastrophe, this will be looking like it's going to Singapore.
Does look like it. It's a very, very strong start from Singapore. Really high accuracy. Full modding. Oh, XK with a miss for Indonesia. Going into the outro now. Yeah, I don't think there's any possibility for Indonesia to come back from this one. I think it's pretty safe to call this Singapore's first point. So very, very well picked from them. Three-way full combo with the hidden hard rock. 9, 12, and 18 100s. Sarah with a really nice full combo as well on the 15 100 hard rock FC. And XK with the 14 100 1 miss. Walper doing pretty good as well. Only 4 misses in 2 different places.
Yeah, the whole 2 different places part is the biggest.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Well, I feel like I remember once hearing that where you miss doesn't matter that much in Scorpio 2, but I don't really know. I'm not gonna lie. The scoring system gets really weird when it comes to misses.
Yeah, I think it's more about kind of to do with like the combo cap being 400.
Yeah.
So if you miss in the first 50 combo and FC the rest, you're gonna have more score than someone that missed in the middle of the map. Just because you're gonna have that max combo for longer. But here we go, here's No Mod 4, the gimmick map that we were talking about, and if you've not seen it yet, you'll kind of get a better idea of what we mean when it comes to lots of silly SV reading. Things get pretty wavy, and it's very difficult to follow. It takes a lot of practice. This map is also littered with doublets from my memory. Very difficult to keep up with the time with, especially when you can't see the timing. You just have to really feel it and kind of get in beat with the music. So we might have a swap in for Indonesia. Yeah, Indonesia must be feeling very confident on this one if they're willing to pick it first.
Yeah. Picking a gimmick first is always scary, but on the other hand, it is kind of nice to get it out of the way.
Absolutely. It means you can kind of practice it just over and over before your match and then still have it fresh in your mind. So it's going to be a bigger question of have Singapore been practicing this one? Since they haven't banned it, the answer is probably, but have they practiced it more than Indonesia? It does look like they're still figuring out who to put into that other slot. I have quite a few good options.
Apparently, Odds is saying they have not played this map. If I'm reading the chat correctly.
Alright, they're waiting for one of their players. They're having to use their timeout to get their player in. It's not a good sign.
They just arrived.
Oh, okay. I don't know if that's going to count as the official timeout usage, but... Because... Wait, I think it probably will, because the timer was set.
Yeah.
My prediction is that Ray was probably practicing the map. We should also give Indonesia a bit of an advantage because Blarar, Zetchi, and Oddsy haven't swapped out. Unless Prehistoria was playing the last map, I can't remember.
It is appearing that it does count for their tiebreaker, or their timeout, which makes sense.
Okay, yeah, Singapore haven't swapped out any of their players, so less practice in.
Cash back on the timeout.
No, unfortunately, once you start that timer, it can't be refunded. You can't bank the rest. So you need to be careful with how you use it.
Here we go. Finish your jump
Right,
scare.
the map starts off somewhat tame, and then it picks up very quickly. Ray being the only player to pick up 100s in this intro so far, but that could just be nerves loading into the map.
Said she just got one as well.
Here we go. A lot of the overlaps make it difficult to figure out what the patterning and timing is. Ray is the first player to miss. Singapore with a score lead of around 40k. A bit of a mid-section. Alright, we go into the slowdown. Singapore very clearly practiced this one, and Zetchi misses just as I say that. But keeping the accuracy really high, Walper finds misses of their own. We still have a double S from Lorard though. XK and Odyssey on 1 or 2 100s each at most.
I think that's one, but I'm not certain.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see some big drops from Singapore if Indonesia are gonna be wanting to win their own first pick here. There's only a third of the map left to go. 75k is a lot of score to make up.
Another
unfortunate break from Walper.
Alright, picking up a couple 100s, but
yeah. This is looking like it's going to be a very early breakpoint in favor of Singapore. Ray does pick up some misses in the final PI as well. And in this outro, I don't think there's enough going on to swap the score back over. There we have it. A combined total 8 to 100s from Singapore, paired with 2 misses from Zetchi.
Just a single 100 from Oddsage coming in. Very impressive.
XK not far behind with 3 100 as well. Walpurgis also showing pretty good there, over 98 accuracy. Just 8 misses, and good accuracy as well, only 35 100s. For a map that is so difficult to read and requires quite a lot of learning, they have done well.
On to Singapore's next pick.
Yeah, Singapore with a very strong advantage here. Could turn this into a 3-0 situation on their next pick. It does seem like going free mod 2 would probably be like a decent shot here.
Yeah,
they were able to outmod Indonesia on the previous one, but they've opted to go for hidden 2.
I know hidden 2 is a very different skill set than hidden 1, but given their performance on hidden 1, they're also still probably pretty dang good at hidden 2.
Absolutely. Yeah, it tends to play more into a bit of a speed skill set. Often has a wee bit of reading aspect in there as well.
And a fairly short song at that, 2 minutes 7 seconds.
That's more like what we want to see. Indonesia swaps around the roster a bit. We have Sarah and Kames coming in. What is this map? Fast hidden? How long have you been playing this game?
This is a couple other picks have like shifted around. Like I feel like there was a time correction. I think there was one tournament where they switched Nomad 2 and 3 for some reason, but Hidden 2 has always been fast hidden.
Yeah, I know.
There's like a Hard Rock 2 is always fast Hard Rock. That's just how it is.
I know in TWC 2021, it's like, oh, here's your first pool for like group stage, and the first map was a tech map, like no mod 1, and everyone was like, what is this?
Sounds like my kind of tournament.
XK with an almost immediate miss.
I was almost going to start talking about mod advantage. I forgot. This is not free mod 2.
Yeah. Just having a tough time adjusting into the map, but everyone's, other than that, still holding to a full combo. Still 2 double S's from Singapore.
Yeah, the only real difference pretty much just being that miss couple 100s.
Yeah, everyone looking very, very comfortable in this one. Score difference is 22 in favor of Singapore, but if any of their players find misses on some of these, like 1-3 sections, maybe just misread something, that could pretty quickly swing over to Indonesia.
Unfortunately for Indonesia, yeah, it's a short map, so they don't have too much time for that miss to come in.
It's never good when you're having to wait for your opponent to find a mistake. Because if they just never make one, there's nothing you can do. There's still 2 double S's from Singapore, and Prehistoria only has a handful of 100 themselves. Odyssey drops the double S themselves, 100. We're going to need to see a lot more difference than that. Final Kiai, it's coming up to the end of the map. Singapore just looked too strong to be dropping anything.
Yeah, and Blorarg in particular, coming out with an SS.
Odyssey with the 100, and XK with the 0-100, 1 miss.
Incredible.
And of course, Prehistoria 6-100 as well, Kames 11, and Sarah 24. Everyone getting over 99% accuracy is very, very good. It is a very comfortable map, but when you're also
XK missed on a ghost tap.
You love to see it. Fortunately, it didn't make the difference.
Yeah, especially with it being 24 notes into the chart.
But that gives Indonesia a really important decision to make here. They cannot afford to lose another breakpoint here, otherwise Singapore will be in match point. Therefore they've got to pick carefully, and they're going to go for Tech No Mod 2. In previous years we've had Mario, Luigi, Bowser. Step aside, it's time for Donkey Kong.
This bit continues.
Of course it does. And we have some roster changes. Odyssey swapping out for Zetchi. We see Walpurgis come back in instead of Sarah, and a mysterious third player for Indonesia.
Hey, we at least have Donkey Kong in the background this time. It's not just named randomly.
Yeah.
Though to be fair, the first time it happened, because I think that was last year, didn't the song mention Mario or something like that?
I don't remember at all.
I feel like there was
Probably though.
I feel like there was an actual reason for it, and then the bit just continued.
And yeah, Ray coming in for Indonesia. Even though I'm not quite the best at this skill set, I find this map really, really fun and challenging to play.
Here we go.
So I'm quite excited to see how these players do on it, because I predict pretty high scores. Especially from Blararg and Zetchi, thinking back to their run on the tiebreaker a couple of years ago that was quite techie based. Oh, everyone picking up a huge chain of 100s other than Blararg. This one's pretty tough to get straight into. Ray with an early miss. Prehistoria matching it though, meaning Singapore will be able to take too big of a lead. Yeah, this chart manages to kind of combine swing aspects and tech aspects together, so it creates quite an interesting playing experience. But it means nothing to Blararg still holding on to that double S a third of the way through.
Yeah. OD 6.2 isn't too terrible for these types of patterns.
Absolutely. The score difference has grown a bit to about 16,000, but Indonesia are still holding on really strong.
And we're finding a miss at the very end of that stream.
It was a clean miss, but it does reset the combo. And once again, Indonesia are really having to wait for Singapore to make some more mistakes. There was the earlier miss from Prehistoria, but they're going to need to see more, especially some accuracy drops, as all of the players in Indonesia are now below 99 accuracy. Well, Kames is now just above it. Blararg missing. That's a good start. And again, Zetchi missing too.
The combo advantage is actually in favor of Indonesia
yes,
now.
It's going over. Indonesia have the lead. But Ray misses though on the stream. There isn't much map left to go. Walpurgis also misses. Unfortunately losing all of the advantage they had. It's back over 30,000. With Kames missing as well towards the outro. Difference of 60,000. It might be over.
And indeed.
And Singapore winning that one with 78,000 score lead. The players on Singapore did find the mistakes that Indonesia needed to take the point, but Indonesia then matched those mistakes on their own.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
very
losing
close.
the lead.
But
interestingly, 0 full combos.
Rare to see that in the round of 16 pick.
Absolutely. Especially when we have a Seed 4 team here. And Seed 13, this is the winner's bracket match. But Singapore is now on match point. It's now their pick. They just need one to win. Indonesia will now need to get 4 breakpoints in a row to take it to a tiebreaker. It's going to be a very tough uphill battle. So we'll see where they start off with. Probably taking their time to pick carefully, as, you know, they have such a strong advantage, they don't want to start kind of throwing it away. Don't let the thread unravel. And we're going to go with something a bit speedy, which is kind of interesting, considering they banned Mod 3.
TT's a whole different ball game anyway.
True. The accuracy is... It's almost like you're playing a different game.
You really are just playing a different game. It's not even comparable.
Now we see M. Crow coming in for the first time for Indonesia. XK coming back in as well. Looks like Zeki's going to be swapping it for someone else in Singapore. I guess very quickly while they swap in their player. If you're a fan of Singapore, Indonesia, or any of the other 32 teams that qualified for this year's tournament, you can go ahead to the OSU store and buy a banner for your profile showing your support. For $2.50 US cents, you can help support the tournament, the prize pools, just everything that goes into it. And, you know, it can go towards the next ones, this one, but it just keeps it kind of to the highest quality that we possibly can. And of course, if you also pick a banner for the team that wins the tournament, you get to keep it for the whole year. So if you just go over and check it out, and even if you haven't decided who you want yet, they'll be available for the entire tournament, and you'd even be able to buy a banner for a team that has been knocked out. Alright, Odsy coming in for Singapore, making up Lark, Prehistoria, Odsy for Singapore, and Caves, I'm Crow, and XK for Indonesia. Possibly the last pick of the match. Let's see how it goes.
Here we go. I'm glad we're getting our state-mandated Toho quota filled here.
Has to happen.
Off of a theme we don't normally see either. Not even from a game necessarily. .240 BPM being the speed for our DT2. Not incredibly fast, but as we mentioned, with OD6 DT, it almost feels like a completely different game.
Absolutely. And we're seeing the density kind of stay fairly consistent as well. So stamina is also going to be an aspect that comes into play.
Yeah. Consistent density honestly almost feels better for me with DT, just because you're never getting weird rhythms in your head really. That's all like 3 note, 5 note
stay on
patterns.
the beat. Keeps it more simple. And of course, as we see, everyone is still full comboing a third of the way through. Never mind.
Look what you've done.
XA, stop missing now.
And now we're getting to the weird rhythms. Weird meaning not triplets.
Pretty much, yeah. But things are looking really, really strong for Singapore once again on their own pick. Escalated to 70,000 halfway through. Accuracies of everyone is really, really good actually. Everyone other than XK is, you know, significantly above 99%. And I'm sure if we take a look at XK's score at the end of the map, there'll probably be close to as many misses as there are 100s. But once again, we're waiting for, you know, Indonesia's waiting for Singapore to find mistakes.
Yeah.
And they're all still full combo with very high accuracy. So I just don't know if it's going to happen. towards the edge of the map now. That score difference is not changing away from 70,000. Couple of small accuracy drops from Singapore, but it's going to need to be way more than that. And with the final spinner, Singapore wins their 5th and final point, securing the victory and advancing on into the quarterfinals winners.
6 100s from Blarg is insane for a DT pick.
It's crazy how close everyone else is 22, 25, 21, 20, 22. Just those 8 misses from XK and the slightly better accuracy from Blarg is pretty much the only difference.
Yeah.
And it led to such a significant score difference as well. That's how important these kind of accuracy differences are. Especially
on DT, since there's 1.12 million points. Even the slightest mistake can have such a bigger impact than you're used to seeing on like a no-mod pick.
So this is the point where I normally would say Singapore is now going to be going against X team and Indonesia is now going to be going against Y team. But this was only the first match of this weekend, so we actually have no idea who they're going to be going against.